never seemed to be able to catch up with them. The god of chaos was a master of not only hiding himself, but also his minions. Their mission was to find the Wolverines' camp and figure out what the hell the creatures were doing in the middle of the Arizona desert. Scott wasn't sure how to respond to the teasing. He still didn't feel completely comfortable discussing his newly discovered ability, especially with Finn, who belonged to the Taos, New Mexico band of Viking warriors. Ulf and Pekka had both traveled with him from eastern Washington state and belonged to the group of Norsemen and women that his sister ruled with her husband. He had trained and patrolled with them for a couple of years now, but Finn had only been a part of their team for a few months.
It's not that reliable. I get a hunch of something about to happen, but never know for sure if it will. And it's not like I can make them appear when I want to.
He dug around in his pack for some water and the sunscreen. Outside the overhang, sand and grit kept raining down, forming a curtain between them and the spectacular view. They'd been in this red desert for 5 days straight. It wasn't their first mission in this location, but the formidable rock formation still took Scott's breath away. If only he could get used to the heat. It was August, and daytime temperatures peaked in the mid-90s.
Let us know when you do, and we'll see if the compass thing works.
Pekka's smile was brief. He stuck a hand in the sand curtain.
Do you think Loki's little fuckers created this rockfall?
Larger rocks joined the grid, and he snapped back his hand so quickly, the strands of his long dark hair that had escaped his ponytail quivered. I bet they managed to double back on us once they got to higher ground, and are now pelting us with this crap. His brows knitted together. Pekka's dark eyes looked so much like those of his twin sister, Irja, that Scott had to look away. He couldn't think about her now. He needed to concentrate on the mission. Besides, it wasn't like Irja was aware of how he felt. To her, he'd only been a patient she helped rehabilitate, and her beloved queen's little brother. He rubbed his chest to ease the ache that always surfaced when he thought about Irja, even though it had been more than a year since he last saw her. Ulf nudged Scott's shoulder.
Is there any way you can tap into those vibes and see when we can get out of here?
It doesn't work that way. His weird tingles came and went sporadically, and sometimes the images didn't even come true. Basically, he had no control whatsoever. Something he was reluctant to admit to these guys, since it was the only skill, if you could call it that, he contributed to their little foursome.
Then how does it work?
Finn asked.
Sometimes I get an image of something that hasn't happened yet in my mind,
like a weird brief flash forward in time. He shrugged.
I don't know when it's going to happen, but usually within a few moments.
The 3 Vikings all watched him for a beat. He grew increasingly uncomfortable.
What?
Finn grinned.
It's like you're our personal Yoda or something.
He rubbed his chin, leaving trails in the film of dirt that covered his skin.
Let's get something to eat while we're stuck here.
He looked pointedly at Scott's pack. Scott leaned over and dug through the stuff sacks in his pack. Although each of the warriors carried their own cache of protein bars and jerky, he had the major meal fixings. Ulf had divided up the tents, plus extra weapons and ammo among the Vikings' 3 packs, and left the food for Scott. At the beginning of their trip, the 4 packs had probably weighed about the same, but as their mission went on, Scott's pack got lighter and lighter. It was a surreptitious consideration of him being slower than the others, and one he resented but wasn't in a position to refuse. At least he carried his own clothes and sleeping bag. Having to ask for a pair of his own clean boxer briefs from one of the others' packs would have been humiliating.
Bagels and cheese?
He asked as he pulled out a brown stuff sack. This was the last of the cheese. After this, their options were limited to tortillas slathered in peanut butter and maybe some slices of salami. They burned so many calories each day that what the food tasted like wasn't as important as how efficiently it could replenish their energy.
Sounds good,
Finn said, reaching for the bag. The red-headed Viking would have given that same answer no matter what Scott suggested. Finn was always starving, whether they were on a mission or not. While they'd been staying with the tribe in Taos, Scott couldn't remember not seeing Finn with some kind of food in his hand. As they munched on their bagels, the size of the rocks falling outside grew smaller and smaller, until only grit...